15 years ago, I spent a lot of time wandering around the Boston Children's Hospital food court, searching for French fries, ice cream, nuggets, anything my 4-year-old would eat. She was in the middle of treatment for stage 4 high-risk cancer. Food is the name of the game on the pediatric oncology floor. But kids with cancer aren't really hungry. They get a metallic taste in their mouth from the chemotherapy. Bribery works sometimes, but kids who have cancer look at you like you're joking at the promise of a sticker. In the middle of treatment, she got a really high fever. So we wound up in the hospital, which should have been for a couple of days. By day 5, I started to get really annoyed. How am I going to get her out of here, I thought. How am I going to get me out of here? All day long, the television blared. The cartoons were bad enough, but the commercials were worse. Mama, will you buy me that? Mama, do you see that? Mama, can you buy me that? The hot item on this particular trip was a pink My Little Pony. I'll trade you 5 pieces of Kix cereal for a pink My Little Pony. She muted the television and looked over at me. I could see her mind working, trying to decide if this was a fair trade. After a couple seconds, she looked away from me and she turned up the television. I was furious. I stormed out of the room and down the hallway to the patient kitchenette. Patients didn't hang out in the patient kitchenette, but parents did. We huddled. We shared tips and tricks and strategies to get our kids to eat. One dad strung donuts and let his kid bob for them like it was Oktoberfest. Another mom bought a case of Cheetos at BJ's and let her kids go wild and put fingerprints everywhere. It seemed a little messy. There was another mom who swore by vanilla muscle milk. And when I excitedly brought it to Emily, she looked at me and she said, "If it's that good, maybe you should drink it." Emily had always been a kid who loved food. If we were going to go to the park for an hour, I'd have to pack 15 snacks just to keep her at the park for an hour. She would eat a box of chicken fingers for dinner with half a bottle of ketchup. She'd eat her ice cream and her sister's ice cream. Around the holidays at Christmas, we would make Buckeyes, the peanut butter balls dipped in chocolate. Emily would eat so much of the peanut butter filling, her stomach would hurt, and yet she'd just keep on eating it. There were phases during her treatment. There was the Cape Cod potato chip phase, but she'd only eat the potato chips that were double folded. I have a friend who had a connection with the Cape Cod potato chip delivery guy, and every week, out of the goodness of his heart, he would drop 2 cases of Cape Cod potato chips at my house. I would open every bag and dump it on the kitchen counter and wade through, only putting the double-folded ones in a bag for her. There was the Greek cheese pizza phase. So we would call our local house of pizza, and I'd say, "We'd like to order a large cheese pizza, but please don't cut it," because the knife had germs. And at first, there was like an awkward pause on the other side of the phone. And after 4 or 5 times, they'd say, "Oh, for the little girl who has cancer." And I would say, "Yes, yes." Today, in the patient kitchenette, there's only a dad. And when I tell him my sad tale, that's everybody's tale on the pediatric oncology floor, he shrugs his shoulders and he says, "I got nothing. My kid hasn't eaten in over a week." And he spread grape jelly on his piece of toast. I left the patient kitchenette and I headed back to Emily's room. I hung my head. Even if Emily didn't know what she wanted to eat, I should know what she wanted to eat. I'm her mom. I went back into her room and shoved handfuls of Kix cereal in my mouth. The week before, I had asked my dad to bring me a box, and he brought me 4 boxes. Every morning, he would send me a text. What do my 2 favorite girls need today? That morning, I said, I need kale and a pink My Little Pony. Around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock that day, on his way from work, he called me from Whole Foods. Amy, what does kale look like? Ask the produce guy, Dad, and do not show up at this hospital without a pink My Little Pony. When I got off the phone, I heard a little raspy voice. Mama, can I have some Kix? I nearly tripped over myself, ran to her hospital tray by her bed, and dumped out half the box. We made the number 4 for her age, a capital E for her name. An hour later, my dad showed up with a gigantic bag of kale and a pink My Little Pony. And 15 years later, with a recovered 20-year-old, we still keep a box of Kix in the house, just because. Thank you.